welcome to Off Topic Sports. I'm your host, Adam, and I will have another host eventually, but right now, you just get me. Off Topic Sports, I chose the name simply because I go off topic on everything, as you will see during this show, and if you watch our talk show, you notice I go off topic a lot. First thing I want to do is introduce why I'm doing this. I'm doing this because I have a lot of information about sports. I listen and retain a lot of different things, and I like to cover a lot of sports topics when I talk, and not a lot of people listen because they either follow one specific sport, one specific team, and so when I get going on everything, they don't seem to follow. So I figured here would be a good outlet. If you follow all sports, you like most sports, I would be an outlet for you to come to, so you can be like, okay, he's going to cover this, this, and this, and not just football, just baseball, just the popular stuff. I will cover popular stuff, I will skip stuff, but I will eventually get to it. Alright, now we're going to get to my fandoms. Like I said, I cover all sports, or at least going to try to, but the major ones I'm going to cover is the NFL, MLB, NBA, and MLS. Also, I'm going to cover UFC, MMA. I'm going to try to throw some Bellator in there if I can, but definitely UFC. One of my bigger things is the in-depth part about UFC. I'm going to try to go in-depth in UFC where I can, where my knowledge will let me. I'm not going to try to be that guy who breaks down individual fights and pretends I know crap about fighting. Another sport that I'm going to try to throw in there, like I said, is MLS. I like American soccer and where it's going. I know it's not as good as the Premier League. I know it's diet version, but I still like to see some of them guys go out there and try their all, especially the older Premier players that come over here from Europe, and they're like, let me dominate America, and sometimes they don't, so that's fun to see. These teams that I like, I'm a Marlins fan in baseball. I was born in Florida. My father was born and my mother were both born in Connecticut and Massachusetts, respectively, so that's sort of where my Patriots fandom comes from and why I'm a Patriots fan and not a Dolphins fan. My dad was a huge Patriots fan and kind of a Dolphins fan, so I grew up a Marino lover. I was a big fan of Marino, and then about 94, 95, I started to see that he was more of a Patriots fan than Dolphins fan, and then during the Super Bowl where Drew Bledsoe lost to the Green Bay Packers and Brett Favre, I believe it was 96 or 97, is when I truly became a diehard Patriots fan. And when they played the Patriots, when the Dolphins played the Patriots, from then on, I was strictly a Patriots fan, but still sort of rooted for them to succeed. I'm obviously going to be a Miami Heat fan in basketball, Florida Gators fan in college hoops and college football. I will cover that a little bit, but with the pandemic, I don't know if college sports is going to happen. But my other fandom is, like I said, NFL is the Patriots fan. Due to my parents and my father living in that region, and he sort of is like a Patriots fan. Like he covers he'll follow the team, he likes the team, but I'm more of a diehard fan. I'm going to get into more specifics later on in other videos of individual players, what they're doing. Obviously, the big news is the Patriots losing Tom Brady to Tampa Bay this offseason, and ultimately going with Jared Stidham until recently, a couple of weeks ago, when we signed Cam Newton. But those are my fandoms. I'm a Marlins fan, Heat fan, Patriots fan, Gators fan, and then in UFC, cover a lot of different fighters I like. That bleeds into UFC 251, big event for Max Holloway, Kamaru Usman, Jorge Masvidal, and Peter Yan, Jose Aldo. Big card. Started off Paige Van Zandt, got beat pretty quickly. First fight, I believe, if I remember correctly, Amanda Ribas got her down, took her back pretty quickly, transitioned into armbar, threatened, submitted her pretty quick. Ribas looks like she's going to be a problem for the 115-pound division or 125-pound division for sure. Shout out to Rose. Rose beat Jessica Andrade. The fight after Paige's fight with Amanda, Rose fought Jessica, and it looked like she was doing what she did before. She was really working Jessica with her distance, her boxing. I think the jab was working really well there for Rose, and then ultimately got to the decision. Busted up eye, though. Jessica hits like a tank, so very big swell on Rose's eye. Did an interview right afterwards. Really, she does earn that nickname, Thug Rose, 100%. She's a great fighter to watch. But that bleeds into Peter Yan versus Aldo. Peter Yan looked like he struggled a little bit with Aldo. It looked like his leg kicks were getting to him. Then he sort of got his rhythm there in about the end of the second, beginning of the third. And there for about 2 rounds, it looked like he put in work. And then, unfortunately, the referee tried to give Aldo way too many chances to recover there at the end. I think Aldo ended up taking 110 unnecessary strikes before the ref finally stopped it. So hopefully he's good. But Peter Yan is going to be a problem at 135. I think guys like Aljamain Sterling coming up and Zabit are going to be very, very hard to deal with for him, but he's definitely going to be up for the challenge. I look forward to seeing that division grow. 135 is back, I think. Not that it wasn't back before. Shout out to Cejudo. He retired, the champ. For whatever reason, he decided to walk away, but it feels like all these contenders coming up are going to be battling it out for supremacy there at 135, and I can't wait to see some upcoming fights there. Then we got the co-main event. Co-main event was Max Holloway versus Alexander Volkanovski. Very controversial, this fight. The judges scored it for Alexander, gave him a split decision, but a lot of people that I follow, that I trust, that score fights, because I don't really like the judging that the UFC has. Unfortunately, the commissions for places like Vegas, Florida, California, Brazil, New York, a lot of those commissions, they're each different. Each commission for each state is different. I didn't know this. And that they don't communicate with each other at all. Shout out to Dominic Cruz. He was on the Pat McAfee show doing an interview about this very stuff, talking about how the commissions don't communicate. They all have their own different rules, so wherever you are as a fighter, you're all right. So in this place, I can kick a guy at this area, and at this state, I can't touch a guy if he has one hand down or 2 hands down. Like, it gets really confusing for some of the fighters. But the judging was terrible for this fight. Not only I, but Dana White, a lot of other people that follow the fights, that score the fights as well, have chose Max Holloway as the winner. I believe 3-2 was the choice. I know they didn't think it was a robbery. I know a lot of people were like, hey, Volkan, he looked good, but I don't think he did enough in my eyes to retain the belt. I know a lot of people like to say, you gotta beat the champ. You gotta do enough to beat the champ. In a lot of cases with John Jones's fight, people are like, oh, look, the guy's throwing a lot of haymakers. It looks like he's hurting John. But if John's not in any danger and is still pushing forward, still putting a pace on you, still following you around the octagon, he's not scared. There is no backing up. And I think that needs to be taken into account here, that Volkanovski isn't making Max back away from the leg kicks. He wasn't stirring Max away. Max was accepting them. A lot of times he was deferring them. He wasn't blocking them enough in my eyes for me to be okay with it. And I think that's the problem, is that these judges just see a constant kick. They're just seeing that kick to his leg, and they're tallying it up. Like, oh, it's contact, it's contact, it's contact. And I think they're scoring them as significant strikes. I'm not privy enough to know whether or not a leg kick to the inside, outside of the calf is an effective kick to be scored as significant. I know it's significant in the fact that it's going to eventually stop you from pressing forward, and your lead leg is very important for a striker. So if you're getting that leg constantly beat up, I'm sure it can eventually be a significant strike. But where I differentiate the significant strike in Max's case is that he was eating them so easily and still pushing a pace on Alex. And I scored it 3-2, as I'm sure a lot of people that scored it for a Holloway have it 3-2. Some may even have it 4-1. But I think solid 3-2 for Max there. I was very impressed by how he looked in this fight with quarantine and all that pandemic stuff in his training for this fight. He looked way better than he did in the first fight. He looked tentative in the first fight. He didn't seem to put on that Max Holloway pace in the first fight. It seemed to struggle with all-around striking and not just the leg kicks in the first fight. And he cleaned all of that up, and I think he deserved the win. But judges scored it the way the judges scored it, so unless Dana gives him a third shot, it looks like Alexander is going to be your champ at 145 going forward. Or he is, regardless of your position on it, because Max lost. Main event, quickly, Jorge didn't have a chance. I thought he did in that first 2 rounds. Was going to get a good shot on Kamaru, but Kamaru was able to get through the first 2 rounds and do what a lot of people didn't want him to do, and that's out-wrestle him, take him down, stay him up, keep Jorge on the ground, land strikes. Just get through each round with Jorge on his back, and you're going to win the round. And he did that 4 or 5 times. So obviously 4 or 5 rounds, you do that 4 or 5 times in each round, you're just gonna overtake the scorecards. Jorge, a lot of respect for Kamaru afterwards, said he was the better man, he lost, some stuff he'd like to work on cardio-wise, and I think that's probably why Jorge was taken down so often was his cardio. But he took the fight on 6 days' notice and had to travel from Vegas to Italy to Abu Dhabi and lose 20 pounds in 6 days. There's a whole big thing, but he did it. He made weight. He fought. I think with a full camp, I think he'd be a little more dangerous. But after watching it, I don't think Kamaru loses. I think he wins maybe a closer decision if Jorge has a full camp. But if Jorge doesn't get a clean shot, or if Kamaru eats those shots that Jorge lands, what else does he have? He's not a jiu-jitsu guy. He's not a wrestler. He's got to knock you out. And he's even said that's how he's changed his game from being the split decision king to being where he is now as Street Jesus, baptizing people. He didn't get there with split decisions. So that was UFC 251. So we'll discuss more UFC down the road in my next videos. Next big thing, football. Cam Newton to New England. Obviously, I'm a New England Patriots fan, but that's the big news of the offseason was, will the Patriots go after a quarterback? Who would it be if they did go after it? Would it be Bridgewater, who ended up signing in Carolina? Would it be Winston, who ended up signing in New Orleans? Would they trade for somebody like Nick Foles, who ended up being traded to the Bears? Or would they draft somebody, try to trade up and go after a guy like Burrow, who was going to go number 1 overall, who did actually go number 1 overall? Would they trade up to get Herbert? Would they trade up to get Love? Who had the Packers, for some reason, traded up to get Jordan Love, which I have no idea why. You have Aaron Rodgers. You take a really good receiver but that's a different video. But New England took Cam, signed him in, 1-year deal with incentives, about $1 million deal. Incentives make it about $7.5 million if he does what the incentives entail him to do. Next year they'd pay him out $7.5. I think a healthy Cam Newton, if you honestly, I like Jared Stidham. I like what I hear from camp, from what people are saying that are way more knowledgeable than me, from people I follow on Twitter that are in New England, that hear things that I don't, that see things that I don't. They're telling me that Stidham looked good or looked promising, but Cam Newton's Cam Newton. He was the 2015 league MVP. He took his Carolina Panthers to a 15-1 record to the Super Bowl. Granted, everyone says his Super Bowl performance wasn't very good. Obviously, he had the fumble he didn't dive on that a lot of people did like. And then, of course, the press conference after the game where he gets up and leaves during questioning because he's just tired of hearing the other team celebrate, which, in my personal opinion, as a guy starting a team, I like that. That's how I do it. I don't want to see you celebrate beating me. I want to go back to the drawing board, get better, and beat you next time. That's all I think about. That's all I'm going to think about. Hell, I do that when my fat ass plays the CPU in Madden or an NBA 2K and I'm playing a season and I play on a higher difficulty where I up the AI on the computer to 65 instead of 50 or 60, which is way harder and I lose a lot. But I get better at the game, so the next time I play them, I know a little bit. A lot of it's secrets, though, when you play those games. A lot of it's you got to shoot from this one area and do this one pass, or everything else doesn't work. But Cam Newton, off-topic sports right there. But getting back to topic, Cam Newton in New England, I think is a good thing. If he's healthy, I know he's motivated. I'm not worried about the Patriots not being able to get him up to date with the playbook. I think he's going to get enough of the playbook. I think he's going to get enough of the feel, because you have to think, Julian Edelman is the only veteran on this team that's a skill player. You have 2 new tight ends. You have N'Keal Harry getting his first real training camp because he was injured last year during camp. He was injured for half the year. You have Mohamed Sanu, who came in halfway through the year last year, so he's getting a training camp. He's getting an off-season with the Patriots. Our new tight ends we brought in. I know the running backs are there, but Burkhead was hurt at the beginning of the year, I believe, last year, and Sony Michel was hurt at the beginning of the year last year, I believe. I may be wrong on that, but I think they were both kind of banged up. It doesn't mean they didn't get involved in training camp and understand, but everybody, I think, is healthy and everybody's training. So I think Cam understanding the playbook, being healthy, I think he's going to beat Jared out. I think Cam will be the starter, and I think he'll play good. I'm not going to sit here and predict he'll throw 4,000 passing yards or 20, 30 touchdowns or rush for 1,000 yards or rush for 12, 13 touchdowns. but I know some of that's going to be in there. I know he's going to run. I know he's going to score. I know the Patriots defense is a Super Bowl caliber defense. Let's face it. They have the reigning Defensive Player of the Year at corner. J.C. Jackson is no scrub. Look at PFF. Look at all the DBs. The Patriots are fine there. I think healthy Cam Newton will beat out Jared Stidham for week 1. Last thing I want to talk about real quick before I end this is the NBA bubble. As a Heat fan, I'm super excited. My team is ranked 4th right now. We got 8 games to play out to see where the rankings are going to be at the end of the season. I think the Heat will finish 4th. I don't think they'll pass Boston. Definitely won't pass Toronto or Milwaukee. If I had to pick 4 teams right now out of the East, those would be my teams. But honestly, I think Boston has the depth and the best skill players. Giannis is lovely and everything, MVP probably again. But that Boston team, for some reason, is just I have a weird feeling about Boston, and I have a weird feeling about how deep they are or how deep they look. I think the Heat as well, with how they play defense, could be a sleeper. I think my Heat could be a sleeper, but Boston looks good. On the other side, I think LA is going to finish number 1. LA will finish number 2. The Clippers. I think you'll have Denver right there, along with who else is threatening over there? I don't know. But I think Dallas is my sleeper for the West. I wouldn't sleep on Dallas, but obviously the Lakers and Clippers are the number 1 and number 2. In the East, I think it's Boston and Milwaukee. But my Heat, definitely don't sleep on my Heat. I think if we get healthy, because I think we have a couple of coronavirus players. I think a couple of our players are out right now with corona. But if they get healthy and they don't have any crazy longing effects from it, and they can get up to date with the team in Orlando, I think the Heat could be a sleeper in the East. But it's going to be exciting. I'm glad to see that hopefully it comes back. Hopefully everybody can stay safe from the pandemic, from all this corona, and they can do it legitimately so people have something to watch at home. Some people can make money that work there, like concessions, people that sell tickets. All those people can make some money off it, not just the bigger billionaires and the players, but see some concession people make money off this bubble, and hopefully get to see some really good basketball play. I know we got some scrimmage games coming up, and then we have the 8-game season that's coming up, or the 8-game end of the season we're going to have, that each team will play 8 games before it ends. And then hopefully we get some really awesome playoff basketball to go along with playoff hockey, playoff soccer, the beginning of football is coming sometime in August. We'll have like the training camp because they're not really doing a preseason. So you're going to have the beginning of football, but then playoff basketball, playoff baseball, playoff soccer, all going on, playoff hockey, all going on at one time, plus the UFC and NASCAR. So it looks like August is going to be a crazy awesome sports month, and it's going to be really cool to see. So obviously you'll get some more videos from me, and basically that's what my this video is going to be going forward, Off Topic Sports. It's going to be me talking about sports topics. Going to be more specific, maybe single out 1 or 2 topics going forward, but this was just sort of my first video, and with so much going on I wanted to get a lot of it out. So if it feels like it's a little bit bloated, I'm going to trim a little bit of the fat out for the future videos, but this is just all I wanted to get out off my head. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. This is Our Talk Show's platform, so you subscribe to Our Talk Show, you get this as a playlist, as well as me going on my little sports talk, as well as rants later on that don't have to do with sports. And don't forget to follow me on Twitter as well. My Twitter handle is adamnedmanIam. It's also White Trash Prince is the other name. It's just some goofy thing I go by because everybody calls me white trash when I was younger, growing up and stuff, so I just thought it was funny.
Hello everyone, I hope you enjoyed the video. That was Off Topics with Adam. I'm Josh from Our Talk Show. If you would like, hit the subscribe button here, or you can watch Our Talk Show episodes over here. See you next time.